Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today I have the honor and the pleasure to have my girl Maya Goode here. And I definitely think right now she has a story of passion because, as I told Maya, I won't say the actual word I said because some of you guys don't know that side of me, but I'm going to say she's brave as hell right now. That's what I'm going to say. I'll keep it PG. I'll say that. And the reason why she's brave is because she's going on a journey that most people wouldn't go on. Most people will settle for mediocrity right now and choose not to find out who they really are or have the bravery to go after it. And she has the bravery. So welcome, Maya. How is it going for you today?
Today has been wonderful. I am in the beautiful city. I'm in the state of South Carolina. Sumter. I'm in Sumter, South Carolina. I've been in so many cities that I have to remind myself where I am at this point. It's lovely and amazing. And I met a friend that I've known online for several years for the first time. And we did a YouTube video yesterday together, and we're going to do another one today together. And then tomorrow I'm going to be heading out to North Carolina.
Okay, so let me just inform the audience, because like when I first started talking to you, you were living in California.
Yes.
And at that time, because you're an author, and you were telling me how you wanted to go to Central America.
Yes.
And you were waiting until your kids graduated, and then you were going to go after that dream.
Exactly.
And the plans have changed a little bit since then.
Yes, it's a matter of what happened, I guess is what the question is. When I was planning to go to South America, I knew I wanted to be a nomad. I had been arranging my life so that once my kids were in college, I could work anywhere in the world. And my plan originally was, spend a few weeks in New Orleans, get my passport, and then head to South America and keep going until I hit Central America, and then, open book from there. I really didn't have any plans on the cities I wanted to see. I just knew I wanted out of the country to see more of the country. And then I got to New Orleans, and I fell in love with the city, quite frankly. And instead of staying a couple weeks, I stayed 8 months. I lived in a huge house of artists, and I told myself I would stay there as long as what I was receiving was valuable to me. And it really was. I learned a lot. I grew as an artist. I met a lot of amazing people. I saw a side of African-American culture that I'd never experienced because being in Northern California, I hadn't really been part of that culture. And so I was reacquainting myself with the African-American side of my culture, but also I was in a house with 19 roommates, and they were all artists. Yeah. Okay. And so just being in that environment was extremely creative. The last couple months I was in New Orleans, I had writer's block. I was having a real struggle writing. I didn't feel comfortable anymore. I felt like my life was bristling against my skin. And I went to a writer's conference in Austin, Texas, and I had carpooled with a friend from my writer's group. I got to Austin. I experienced my 3 days there. I really didn't feel connected to a lot of the people there. I had some amazing experiences, but a lot of the experiences some of the other authors had, I really didn't have. And people talked about being shy at conferences and not talking to people at conferences. And I realized that mine wasn't shyness, that there was something else going on while I was in Austin, that I was really dealing with some internal stuff. And then a series of events happened. It was like the world was converging on me to make sure I didn't go back to New Orleans. And so the day before I was supposed to leave for New Orleans, I bought new earrings, and I went and picked up a few things for travel. And I was in the dressing room of REI, and I picked up a shirt, and I wore it, and something was wrong with it. So I went back to REI to exchange it for something different, and I left my earrings in the dressing room of REI. These are $130 earrings. REI doesn't open until 10 in the morning. My ride was leaving at 6 a.m. So when I say the world was converging to make sure I didn't go back to New Orleans, that's what I'm talking about. So I told my friend, I was like, you know what, I'll figure out something. I'll take a bus back. Don't worry about it. You just go ahead and do your thing. I'll take a bus back to New Orleans. And I'm sitting in this cafe. I've got my pack packed. My pack is heavy, but I'm dealing with it. And I'm sitting there and I open up Greyhound bus to buy my ticket, and something in the back of my head and in my gut was like, check out Craigslist. And I went on Craigslist and there was a ride share to Florida. And I'd never been to Florida, and I just didn't feel ready to go home. And the fact that New Orleans was starting to feel like home, like I could say I'm not ready to go home instead of I'm not ready to go to New Orleans, didn't sit right with me. So I got in this RV with these two people I'd never met before, and we rode all the way to Northport, Florida. And on the journey, they were artists, they're antiquers. We were hitting antique stores. I discovered the Native American flute, and I fell in love with it. Ended up with one that I found at an antique store. Like, all these things were happening. And I get to Northport, Florida. I'm like, where am I going to go from here? You know what? I'm going to go to South Beach, Florida. I haven't been near a beach in a really long time. I need some ocean in my life. And that was the first time I hitchhiked. I said I was hitchhiking, but it didn't feel like hitchhiking. I had arranged the ride online. I had talked to them in advance. I didn't feel like hitchhiking. But the first time I stood on the side of the on-ramp with my thumb out, I was a nervous wreck. So I put my thumb out, and like 5 cars pass, and then I put my thumb back. I'm like, no, I can't do this. And I'm wandering around. I'm like, no, I can get brave. I can do this. And so I get back out there, put my thumb back out. Exactly. All these fits and starts. It took me probably 6 times before I felt confident enough to actually stand there with my thumb out. And I got picked up. My first ride was this older European lady who taught children, deaf children, at a deaf school, and she arranged services for them. And that was the first time I had the experience of when you're sitting in someone's car and you're not looking at each other and you're in their safe space, and most people don't have an opportunity to open up in their regular lives, everything comes out. And I have been hitchhiking for the last month. Tomorrow is 1 month. And in that time, every single car I've gotten into has had a story. I haven't had any bad experiences. I haven't had any crazy people that like I felt like I was in danger in any way. But what I have experienced is kindness from strangers. Enormous amount of kindness and generosity from average strangers. I have experienced listening to people's stories in their own safe space. Amazing stories. And I've discovered that literally every person I come across has a story. So before this trip, I was very shy in public. I am a shy person. You used to fight with me on that and tell me I'm not shy. That's just because I took lots of acting. But frankly, you get me outside around a bunch of strangers and I'm very quiet. And I would talk to people if they approached me, and I would be like gregarious, but I wouldn't necessarily approach people.
Yes.
And I've changed in so many ways. And I think that's the biggest way, where now I know every person has a story. And I've seen how amazing people are. They're media. People are not YouTube comments. People are people. And when you get them on their own turf and you just open up and talk to them and you're open, then they become more open. And now I will sit at a bus stop and just randomly talk to people.
You know, Maya, how many people right now, I'm just going to keep it with you, are saying, Maya, you're crazy right now?
A lot.
No, let me go a little more into this. Not only are you crazy, but they're like, why can't you just go get a job? Or just have a normal life? Why do you want to do these things? You're like, how old are you? I'm
40.
You're 40. Like, you're 40. You know, you're not supposed to be doing these things. You just get a job and just get a home and have some grass growing. What about your soul doesn't let you do that?
I think it starts when I was really young. When I was really young, I pretty much lived in my head and in books, and I knew that there were tons of adventures out there, and I wanted to experience all of them. And when I was in middle school, I tried to run away. And, you know, most kids, when they try to run away, you know, they pack their little backpack and they're going to go to some big city or something, or they're dreaming they're going to go to LA and be a movie star, or they're trying to escape abuse, something. Well, when I tried to run away, I threw away all my books one morning and I walk down to the bus stop. And I had spent 6 months saving all of my bus money and my lunch money in order to run away. I knew this was coming. And instead of like packing normal stuff that a normal kid who's going to run away has packed, I had made my own slingshot that was like a single sling that you swing around your head to let a rock loose. I had made that. And I had planned, this is embarrassing, my version of running away was to try to run away to Alaska and live in a cave and have a pet falcon, because I read too much Planet of the Cave Bear.
I'm glad you shared that. That's a great way to share that.
Like, who does that? What child does that? Like, me. That's who.
Hey.
Okay.
And you shouldn't apologize for that. You are who you are.
You know, and periodically during certain times of my life, I would get rid of everything. When I was 18, I threw everything away, and I showed up in Hawaii with $150 in my pocket. I showed up in New York with $60 in my pocket. This is who I was before I had kids. I wanted to write poetry, and I used to say I have to experience everything once. That was my mindset at 18 years old me. And then I had my children, and I attempted to be normal. I tried. I put on the adult suit, and it never fit right. And people could tell it didn't fit right, so I didn't make a lot of friends. Like, you know, moms have mom friends. I didn't really have mom friends. I was that weird mom down the street with the kids that everyone else thought needed extra caring because they've got the weird mom. That was my kids, the one with the weird mom.
Can I stay there for a second? Because that adult hat that people talk about sometimes, I think that hat and the word normal tends to go together.
Yeah.
Everybody wants you to be normal. But my thing is, what the hell, what data do people have that normal is the way to live? Because I think when I think so-called normal, I think you're settling.
Yeah.
You're not brave enough to be who you are, because we're all individuals. We're not all the same. Like, you know, cowboys wearing cowboy hats. And they're all wearing cowboy hats. The Creator did not create us to be the same. He made us all different. So where are we getting this model that we all have to be the same in order to live a great life? I don't know where we're getting this information.
I think I was getting it from society in general. TV, books, movies, you know, magazines, people that I saw on the street. And I've met normal people that are happy normal. Like, they are comfortable in that suit.
Yes.
To me, I always felt like a little kid in my mom's clothes. Like, I used to dread going to like student teacher conferences and stuff. Because I would show up and it's like, which one's the student? like I never felt comfortable in that. And so when I dropped my kid off at college, the closer it got to that time, it was like that old part of me that I had pushed away and put in a little box was starting to scratch its way out. And by the time I dropped him off, within a week, I was gone. I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I stayed here for the kids because the kids grew up in an amazing way there. But without them being there, there was no reason for me to stay in that environment as miserable as I was.
It was prison for you.
It really was. It was 18 years of prison. I love my kids, but staying in that environment was really hard for me. But I had to, because the schools were amazing, you know, and if I had moved someplace where I was more financially stable and I was more comfortable socially, I may not have the kids I have, and I may not be able to have this adventure. As it is, I'm able to travel because my kids are not screw-ups, and I can go all over the world and know that their bills are paid and that they're in school and they've got jobs and they have friends and they're having fun and they're creative. And so that gives me freedom to explore myself, and my kids are my two biggest supporters. Out of all the people that I tell I've been hitchhiking for a month, every single European says, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Where are you going? Every single American says, oh, that's so dangerous. Be careful.
Now, let me just stay there for a second. They say you cannot go to any part of the world and travel and not see a European. But you can go to many places across the world and not see an American.
Yes.
That mentality is so different. Even when I was in the military and I was traveling to Thailand with the military, I saw Europeans. And Americans, we say, oh, we're the most powerful country, whatever, but
we don't travel.
We don't travel.
We don't see the world. We don't understand the world.
No.
You can't rule something that you don't understand. And so we're constantly stumbling and bumbling and making things worse, trying to make things better, just because we don't understand the world at large. And I think a lot of people in the U.S., from the media, they think they don't have to understand the world, that our country is so much better than every place else, so what's the point of seeing the rest of the world? But honestly, when you look at families with a lot of money, like the whole thing with Obama's older daughter when she was going to do her gap year, Americans were all up in arms. Gap year, what's this gap year thing? Every single rich person sends their kid on a gap year because that is actually part of their education. And then we judge it because, what are you, some elitist?
You know, I honestly think, Maya, there is nothing that has taught me more than travel. Nothing. Traveling, I think, is the best education. It's a way for you to find out who you really are.
Yeah, I think that's true. I also think that it was important for me to understand the United States better before I left the country. You know, when I was talking about leaving the country, I was dealing with a lot of stuff that was going on politically and socially where I was just not happy with the way things were going. And I was starting to lose my faith in America and humanity in general. I was, you know, I was not in a good place as far as my own relationship with my culture. And then through travel, what have I discovered? I've discovered generosity. I've discovered amazing people. And I've discovered generosity within myself, and I've grown it and cultivated it in such a way that I've lost a lot of that just frustrated, blatant anger. I'm still frustrated. Don't get me twisted. But
like, I'm frustrated now. Yeah.
I am still frustrated, but I'm more understanding and I'm more open-minded. And I think that's going to make it so that when I do leave the country, and I am planning on leaving the country this winter, but when I do leave the country, I'm going to see and experience things differently than I would have if I would have left immediately in the middle of all that chaos.
Now, I want to ask you a personal question, Maya. When all this is going around you and you're going on your journey, you're 40 years old, because you want to be you're an author, and I hope that you're documenting this whole process, by the way.
Yeah.
But did you feel somewhat depressed and doubtful yourself that, am I making the right move? Are they right? Did you ever go through that thought process?
I did at one point. I was in Sunny Isles, Florida, which is, they call it the Riviera of Florida. It's like this little itty bitty sliver just outside South Beach, and it's beautiful, and it's all these super, super rich people. There was no way I was hitchhiking out of there. I had to walk to North Miami because people are driving their Lamborghinis at 80 miles an hour. They're not going to pick up a hitchhiker. Yeah. But when I was there, there's no hostels on Sunny Isle, and so I had planned to sleep on the beach for a couple nights. And on the second night, after I slept on the beach, I woke up to this amazing sunset, and I went out to hitchhike out of Sunny Isles, and I couldn't get a ride. So I slept on the beach that third night. And for a split second, I was like, was this a good thing? Am I going to end up homeless? Like you have that thought in the back of your head, maybe this wasn't smart. Maybe I'm going to get stuck here, kind of thing. And then the next morning, I just picked up my britches, and I hoofed it out of Sunny Isle on foot. And I got a little bit lost, but I found my way. And once I got to North Miami, I was able to hitchhike out. And so I did have just a little moment of self-doubt because up until that point, it had seemed like everything had gone my way. And that was the first time something hadn't gone my way. And I was like, oh, maybe my luck has run out. Maybe this is where it all goes downhill.
This is where it goes to crap right now. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you have that moment. But it taught me, A, that I'm strong enough to walk that kind of distance, because up until that point, like, let's be straight, last year, I was still dealing with significant foot injury and knee injury. And so up until recently, I haven't been able to walk more than 1.5 miles. And I've got this pack on my back that's 40 pounds at that point. Oh. It's not 40 pounds anymore. Now it's closer to 30. But at that point, it was 40 pounds. And up until that point, I had walk from the gas station to the on-ramp, from the off-ramp to the hostel. Like, I hadn't been forced to do a ton of walking. And that was the first time I walked that distance. It was the first time I walked that distance with my pack. It was the first time I went over a drawbridge, which I used to have a phobia about.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I'm glad it happened. I'm glad I didn't get a ride out of Sunny Isle. But, oh, that was a little scary when I had to spend that extra night on the beach.
Wow. You know, do you feel right now, and I know a lot of people don't believe in the universe, but let me just give an example. I was chatting with you earlier, and I said, hey, Maya, let's do an interview. But I asked you about somebody that I've been watching for years. And they were traveling, and they were wondering on their journey. And I don't think they're doing it the way they should, but that's a whole other story. And I mentioned this person to you. Like, let's say right now, I'm mentioning it to you right now. This is the person. 5 minutes later, ladies and gentlemen, a person that I've been watching for years that has never contacted me, said anything on a post or anything. 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, all of a sudden, supposedly, I look and I said, it can't be. That person commented on one of my posts. And I was talking to you about that person. I'm like, you won't even believe.
It wasn't even 5 minutes. It was seriously like 3 minutes tops.
3 minutes. Some normal person would say, you know what? That was a coincidence.
Mm-hmm. Do I believe in coincidences? Is that the question?
Oh, I know you don't. I know you know better than this. I'm just letting everyone know that this shows you how the universe works. And I get signs like this constantly, but a lot of us, we ignore them, right? But what is your reminders now? What have you seen along the way that assures you that you're on the right path?
Well, first, it's my gut. You can call it what you want it. You could call it God sending you a message. You can call it listening to the universe. You can call it being psychic. You can call it listening to your intuition or your gut. I don't care what you call it, but you know when you're supposed to do something and when you're not. So that's the first thing, is I'm listening to my gut. But also on this trip, when I started, I've been Buddhist since I was 16 years old. And on this trip periodically, I've gotten deeper and deeper into recognizing that I need to take that a step further. And that's something that came up on this trip. I had considered, I used to joke about retiring in a monastery when I'm like 65. Instead of going to a retirement community, go join a monastery at 65. And through this trip, I've realized that I want to be a part of the Zen Buddhist clergy, and that I'm going to not wait until I'm 65.
Wow.
And that happened because as I'm on this trip, I kept seeing these instances of generosity, but also they were coupled with instances of witnessing suffering. And I found myself becoming more generous. And as I became more generous, people were more generous to me. And then I had something happen where, I was sitting down and I was sitting down and I was eating food that had been given to me the day before. Starbucks had closed and they gave me all this food, and I kept some of it, and I went searching for homeless people to give it to. And the next day I got in a ride in an 18-wheeler with this man from Eritrea, and he had been a rebel during the Eritrean War. Wow. And we were talking about, how when he was a young man, he had been so idealistic and he had wanted to better his country, and how it affected him now as an old man, looking back and seeing how much worse the country is now after that war than before that war, and the amount of guilt and how he doesn't get to talk about it. Like, he never talks about it, but he was talking about it with me because I was in his car. And, I had mentioned that, someday eventually I'll probably become a monk. And he's like, well, why do you need to join a monastery if you already live the life of a monk?
Wow.
And yeah, right. And I thought about it for a minute. I was like, okay, so for the past 3 days, everything I've eaten has been given to me. So essentially, I've been collecting alms. I've been practicing generosity. I went and couch surfed with somebody and I saved their relationship. On this trip, people open up and for some reason they want my advice on shit. Excuse me. Sorry.
No.
So
that's not okay. That's not why I'm giving that look.
No. I'm trying to
look,
talk clean.
No. Talk whatever you want to talk. The reason why I'm looking like that is because they're looking to get advice from you.
Yeah, they don't even know me.
Wow.
I'm literally just wandering from place to place, getting in people's cars, and they're opening up to me. I'm sleeping wherever, and it's okay. Sometimes I sleep in someone's house, in like their spare bedroom. Sometimes I'm in a hostel. Sometimes I'm on a bench. It doesn't matter. I'm eating food. I'm giving food away. I'm finding things that are too heavy for my pack, and I'm searching out people that are in need to give it to. I found myself in a situation where when he said that, I reflected on the precepts, and I realized that over the last year, I have been gradually practicing more and more of the precepts without even realizing it. Wow. And he was right. I was moving in that direction towards becoming a Buddhist monk. So the next day, I'm in Jacksonville, and I look, and there is a Zen meditation group, and I go there and I meditate with the meditation group for the first time in about 6 years. Mm-hmm. And it felt like a coming home. It really felt like a coming home for me. And so, this is all happening. And then yesterday, something amazing happened. I'm hitchhiking to my friend's house. I get off at the wrong stop.
The wrong stop?
Yeah, the wrong stop. I'm like past where I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
I go into this gas station, try to get directions, and it's the first time, like this is the real South. It's the first time where they can't understand me and I can't understand them. And they gave up trying and didn't give me directions. So I leave here, okay? Yeah, because I'm too light for them, evidently. Like it's that South, okay? And so I come out of the gas station. I'm like, oh crap, what am I gonna do? Like my cell phone's dead, so I can't pull up Google Maps. I'm just like, I know 15's around here somewhere. I get directions from some old man. He doesn't offer me a ride. So I start walking. I'm going to walk the 15 miles to I-15. That's what I told myself. I'm just going to walk it. And I start walking. Man, and I finally found a patch of shade. I'm so thankful. And bugs are eating me up. And I start putting my thumb out. But I'm in that part of the South. Ain't nobody going to pick me up. And I'm standing
like
there.
This again.
Yep, I'm like this. I got my thumb. Matter of fact, I was too tired to take out my sign. I have a sign that says north and west.
Yeah.
Because I'm either going north or west. And I didn't even take out my sign. I was too tired. And so I'm standing out there with my thumb. And this man pulls up. He says, "What are you doing out here?" I said, "I'm hitchhiking." He says, "Why?" I'm like, "Because I'm on an adventure. I'm traveling. I'm hitchhiking." He's like, but what are you doing out here? Like, seriously, he says it twice. Mm-hmm. And I say it again. He's like, "Well, where are you going?" I tell him, and I get in his van. And he's a pastor. Okay. So immediately, like, old me would have been like, "Oh, here we go." Like, old me, oh, goddamn, it's gonna be 5 minutes and trying to be converted.
Verse 18.
Like, old me, that was my thought. And I had a fleeting moment of, here we go. But I was ready. I'm at this point, I've learned to accept people where they are. And he restored my faith in Christians.
Wow.
And I gave him more faith in Buddhism, in Buddhists. As we talked, it was the first time I've talked to a pastor where it felt like a meeting of equals. Mm. And we found our commonalities in service. Yeah. And he asked me what made me turn from being a Christian to a Buddhist. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't with judgment. Wow. And he was kind and open. He drove me right to my friend's doorstep. And I was so respectful of him. Like, I honestly respected him as a person. He'd been a pastor for 40 years. And he wasn't one of these people that is in name only or is secretly judgmental. Like, he embodied everything that I think the Bible has in it. Mm. You know, the thing that a lot of people I see don't. Mm-hmm. He was the embodiment of it, but he also was curious. He was very curious because he's never met a Buddhist before. And the concept of a religion that doesn't say whether or not there's a God is like, what? Like, what is this thing? Mm-hmm. And so we talked the whole way. And that was the moment where I was like, yeah, we were meant to be in the car together. And we both said, I was like, I was meant to be in your car. He's like, yeah, you were meant to be in my car.
But you were lost.
Yeah.
Lost again. You were lost when your earrings were in the store, and you were lost when you met the pastor.
Yep.
But
I was also lost when I got on the
experience.
first 18-wheeler. There's no such thing as getting lost. It's just another path.
We're only lost because we think that that's what we're supposed to do.
Exactly.
And I'm going to use the word universe again. And like you said, it's many different ways you can say this. But we can think one way, but the universe has a whole nother way for us.
Exactly.
Which is most likely the correct way. But we just don't know it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I admire you for your bravery, Maya, because most people won't let the universe guide them.
I think that's mostly because most people are trained to ignore their gut. They're told when they're kids, oh, don't worry about that. Oh, that uncle is fine. Oh, you'll be fine when you're fearing about this test. We're told, like, when a little kid says, oh, I'm worried about something. Oh, don't worry about it. And that teaches you not to listen to your gut. And in some weird way, the fact that I was raised in a way that was really, really messed up made it so that paying attention to my gut was a matter of safety.
Wow.
So a lot of abused children have really finely tuned intuition because they had to as children, which is a negative. But what you can take from it is don't tell your kids to ignore their gut, because they can train that intuition just as much as the next person. I've always had strong intuition. I didn't necessarily have the words for it, but I always knew, like, don't go down that alley, go down that alley, like those types of situations. Exactly. Sometimes I was an idiot. I remember a case in point. I came out of work and was walking down the street, and the street was empty. And my gut said, why the hell is this street empty?
Something wrong with this.
And the only times I've ever gotten in trouble is when I've ignored that. And turned out there was a shootout. There was a shooter in an upstairs window, and there were police on this corner, and they're shooting back and forth. And I walked out when they were not shooting, and the street was completely abandoned. And all of a sudden this door cracks, and an arm comes out and pulls me into a bar. And he's like, there's a shootout out there. You don't need to be walking down the street.
I thought you were saying the shooter pulled you into the bar. Like, holy crap.
No, bartender did. He grabbed my ass and pulled me into a bar.
Universe helping you again. Get your butt in here.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
But stuff like that's always happened to me. And I think after that, I just do. I listen to my gut. I don't think it's something different or extraordinary. I don't think it's something that everyone can't do. I ran into someone who had literally never heard the word intuition. He didn't know what I was talking about. And I was trying to explain it to him, and he didn't have any ability to reference it, which was so foreign to me, because knowing what your gut is telling you is just an intrinsic part of being human. Like, how can you not do that? And I've figured out that not everybody has finely tuned it, but it is something you can tune.
Mm-hmm. No, it's so funny. Like, I'm getting these calls from somebody now, but it's weird. But anyways, Maya, so I'm going to end this, but I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
So you're on your journey right now. I think you're on your journey to discovering who Maya really is, because you've been in service, meaning like you've been helping your kids find their way and things like that, and you kind of put you on the back burner. But my question is, at this point, do you know what the end is going to look like?
I think I do, but it can change.
What is your interpretation?
Right now, I think that I'm going to travel the world and write. I am a writer, and I will study Buddhism in a lot more serious way until I'm prepared to join the Buddhist clergy. That will take probably 3 to 5 years. And that's what it looks like this is pushing me towards. It's pushing me towards that. But more importantly, I've talked a lot over the last 2 years, while there's been all this chaos, that, artists have a responsibility. During times of political, social, and cultural chaos, a lot of times the first thing that gets really fought against is art, because art has a certain power, and that's a power that artists need to wield really responsibly, but also don't ignore it. Like, we are important in the trajectory of writing a wrong course. And so I've had that going on in the back of my head, but how to put that on paper, how to enact that in my fiction was really difficult. And I feel like this whole trip has given my writing a new focus.
You know which author you remind me of right now? There's two, but I can't remember the other one's name or the book. But there's one that I do remember. You're a Badass.
I've never heard it.
You've never read that book? Read that book.
Okay.
Because that author's journey is similar to a journey that you went on. And I want to say that she went to India. I could be wrong. But her journey of walking out of that normal life and doing different things actually made her a very successful person. And also, I would tell you, too, maybe apply for some TED Talks, because your life right now is freaking interesting. Very interesting. And I am definitely going to stay tuned and grab the popcorn and see where is this going to, and I don't want to say it's going to end.
Where's this going to end up, or are all the wheels going to come off?
But no, I have the popcorn right now. Like, this is a good movie right now. This is good. This is TV. The rest of the world is not. This is TV for me right now. So I admire you for your bravery. Maya, I support you 100%. I don't think you're one of the weird ones. I honestly think that this is what every human being should be doing. Because to be honest, we can say we have kids, we have husbands, we have everything, but really we're born in this planet by ourselves, and we're going to die by ourselves.
Yeah.
So each individual soul has to do their job to find out who they really are.
Yeah.
I believe that 100%.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, when I look at my life, I don't really have very many regrets, but the one regret I have is that I waited until my kids were grown to travel. I wish I would have just packed them up and traveled, because all the most amazing adults I know traveled as children. Every single one.
Ooh, that's so true. We used to say that about military kids.
Oh yeah, military kids are amazing.
Yeah.
And there's a community of nomads with children, and I wish I would have felt brave enough at that time to do that. I wanted to. I edged close a couple times, but I never took the plunge. And that's really my only regret. And the thing that makes it okay is that my children are able to see me doing it now. I'm setting an example.
Yeah, at least you're doing it now.
Yeah, I want them to be brave,
Yeah, and they are. And I promise you right now, your kids probably support you in this. They're probably one of the
totally
few.
Do. They're awesome. Yep.
They
They never worry about, oh, be safe, da 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 da. None of that mess. They told me that, I'm not allowed to die in a stupid way.
Mm-hmm.
If I die doing something amazing, that's cool. But no dying crossing the street. But if I die trying to get my asthmatic ass up Everest, that's cool.
That's probably one of the best quotes I've heard. Right there. And we're going to end it right there. But you hang tight, Maya. You guys go. Tell everybody where they can find you, Maya. By the way.
You can find me on YouTube. I have a website. Pretty much put my name into Google and I will pop up. My website is mayagoode.com. I have 2 YouTube channels. The first one is Maya Goode, and the second one is Quotidian Light. And I'm not even going to try to spell that. Just Google it, misspell it. Google will fix it.
Yeah. Thank you, Maya. Hang tight. And if you guys, I say go over there and subscribe, like our pages, and you guys grab the popcorn. Because I can tell you right now, it's going to be a great story. So take care.
Thank you.